Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. Multi-melter is an excellent unit versus a steel ball aggro position. However, when both of the balls and the melters have the energy absorption tech on, he who tips the balance wins. Let's find out what exactly happened in this game. At the bottom here, I am playing as a quick supply specialist, and my opponent, Ultreon, is playing as a aerial specialist. I started off with Mustangs and Crawlers, and I was hoping to go with a fort carry with Mustangs and Crawlers. This is a strategy that has been pretty popular recently, so Fort Stangs. My buddy Clint actually just uploaded a tutorial on how to do Fort Stangs, so if you haven't seen it, I'll put a link down in the description. My opponent decided to go with a huge line of aggro units with lots of crawlers and, of course, steel balls. I haven't seen a position like this, but it is very aggressive. There is no follow-up crawlers. Everything is just headbutting right off the bat here. Whenever I do a Mustang play, I always like to take +1 off right off the get-go. I feel like +1 grants the Mustangs a lot of value, and since they'll be shooting for a very long time, I might as well take advantage of that extra damage boost. Alright, looks like I'm able to get to round 1 because my opponent doesn't really have chaff clear. Round 2, we got a unit drop. Fire Badger is going to be great for both of our boards. For me, it's just because Mustangs aren't really the greatest unit against Crawlers, even though they can kind of chaff clear. And for my opponent, I have Crawlers and Mustangs, and if you get Fire Badgers with Napalm or even range, you should be in a very good spot. So my opponent not only did get the Fire Badgers, but he also got a level 1 Wraith. Right now, my Mustangs are very vulnerable to this unit, and even if I can deal with this Wraith, I still have to figure out a way to deal with these Fire Badgers. So things aren't looking too hot in round 2 on my side of the board. I had a distraction crawler here, and it served its purpose. It's tying down this pack of steel balls for quite some time, so now I'm able to come back and get rid of it. Alright, with the tower debuff, my units are rushing back, and I'm hoping to get this Wraith, which is almost dead. And there it is. Alright, now we've got Fire Badgers on Fire Badgers with a bit of support from the Mustangs, but it's going to look like a win for my opponent. Alright, so we got reinforcement cards. I took intensive training just because of the sheer number of Mustangs that I have. I think this could be very good. For my opponent, intensive training is also great, but also he could have taken underground because we're both going aggro. So having underground to capture one of these towers would be huge. Alright, so I had intensive training on a level 2 Mustangs, which is now going to get into level 3. These are pretty big stains. Unfortunately, I don't have anything in front of it. I've added 2 missiles in case there's going to be any funny business with the underground crawlers. And I've added 2 more squads of crawlers. One is just to distract the steel balls, and then the second one is tasked with taking on the tower. Alright, Mustangs are doing work. The one on the right, I think, should be able to survive a little bit longer. It all depends on if this Fire Badger is able to draw aggro, but even then, I think it's doing okay. Problem is, on the left, we have a level 2 Wraith, which I have no answers to, and if I continue to stay on the Mustangs, he will outscale me so much that I would just die in a couple rounds. So I need to have a definitive answer against this level 2 Wraith, and also just the level 2 steel balls, level 2 Fire Badgers, a lot of medium-sized units. And you know what's the best units against medium-sized units that can shoot both air and the ground? Well, a multi-melter. Alright, getting into round 4. Bombard is kind of interesting, but right now all my opponent's units are at the front, so if I use Bombard, I will risk shooting my own stuff. Smoke Bomb is not interesting because he really doesn't have anything on the ground. So I decided to save the money and get myself a melting point. And the first position of this unit is going to be on the far left because I want to deal with the Fire Badger and I want to deal with the Steel Balls. I did save some money for shields because I was afraid of Bombard on my side of the board. My opponent defended his flank with another squad of Fire Badgers. And that's about it. So now let's see how the melting point works against medium-sized units, and I'm feeling pretty good about this round. Alright, melting point is now on target, slowly whittling down these level 3 Fire Badgers. And of course, I have my Mustangs, they're still doing the work. Level 2 Steel Balls looking menacing, but not for long. Here's the melting point charging on them once again. We got Wraith coming over. Melting point is using one of his 5 tiny little beams. Get rid of this level 2 Wraith and getting a level for himself. Not too bad for the first day out on the field. Now, my melting point does not have range upgraded just yet, which makes them very vulnerable, especially against steel balls with range. I've decided to take the Vulcan, but I don't think I'll keep the Vulcan. It's really just there for sale. This is the only unit out of the pack that only comes with 1 unit, so I do want to get rid of it. My opponent also took the Vulcan. I added 2 more melting points. And that's pretty much all my money this round. Now, unfortunately, the melting point on the far right seems to be a little bit more exposed than I like. Okay, looking at my opponent's side, I think he should definitely take range on the steel balls. And he should definitely adding a few more packs of steel balls. And that's exactly what he's doing. Multi-melter is great against steel balls as long as you have things in front of it. But with the Wraith, and this is why Wraith Steel Ball is so potent, because the Wraith, once you get range and 8 gun, they eat chaff up. There's nothing to actually stop these units from getting to me. So this melting point, terrible positioning, so they're going to get locked down very quickly. Not able to do the actual damage to the steel balls. However, my melting points on the far left are actually doing great. Not only taking down these high-level Fire Badgers, also getting to the Vulcan, we'll get into new Fire Badgers. So yeah, they're doing all right. Sure, there's going to be a tower debuff. I'm not too worried. And now the melting point are back in business. Alright, we got another reinforcement cards. Oil is a aggro position of aggro player's worst nightmare, so I've decided to take oil. For him, I think nano repair kit on a high level steel balls will probably be pretty darn deadly. Alright, I sold my melting point. I was pretty positioned, brought it back, and I'm going to put it behind the Fire Badgers. I'm going to need some medium units, maybe sledgehammers, maybe steel balls of my own, because I need to tank these Wraith. They're just killing my chaff a little bit too quickly. I have double range, both my melting point as well as my Mustangs, and now I have no money. Oil goes down, and here it is, a gun with range. This is the ultimate chaff clear composition. Nothing can really get through it, so now I just hope that my Mustangs can clear out these crawlers, allowing my melting points to get locked onto the steel balls. Otherwise, I don't really have an answer to this. At some point, I may want to put down Fire Badgers of my own with Napalm, and that's going to force a lot of crawlers to run through there. And with that, I should be able to get that done. Alright, so these level 2 steel balls, which are now level 3, are quite scary. The steel balls on the other side, they are doing decent damage. Now it's just a race against time. Is it going to kill my melting point or am I going to kill it? All right, not looking too bad. I'm bringing my opponent down to 786 HP. Another small unit manufacturing. It's going to be super heavy armor. And that might just go on to my high level melting points, allowing it to survive quite a lot longer. And it's also going to be super heavy armor, and it's probably going to go on to these level 3 steel balls. All right, I pick up energy absorption because I realize right now I'm kind of in this battle to survive against the steel balls. So even if they log on to me with energy absorption, I should be able to heal all the way back. All right, here's my opponent double teching the steel balls, and now is up to level 4, rocking a 48,000 HP per unit. So even at a level 3 melting point, it's going to take a while to get that unit down. All right, there are more crawlers, more blue crawlers on the field, and realizing that I don't have really good chaff clear except these Mustangs, and Mustangs, they're kind of crappy against crawlers of the equal level, and if you have a higher level crawler, they really aren't doing the job. And here comes energy absorption on the steel ball, so it becomes a very fine balance because at some point both the melting point and the steel balls are going to be up charged all the way up to full, and the slightest damage can sway both sides. Man, it looks like these level 4 steel balls instantly deleting my level 3 melting point and gaining themselves once again another level. So this can get out of control really fast. Luckily, I do have a lot of health to burn, but I don't want to be in this desperate position at all. So I needed a way to stop them from snowballing. One way to deal with a lot of steel balls with suck is to have a multi-layer defensive line. What I mean by that is, yes, you're going to have melting point at the front, but you should also have melting points in the back. So as the steel balls come in, your melting point will already be locked on. So by the time they move on to your second line of melting points, you're already hitting that full charge. So ideally killing them before they can charge and absorb all your HP. All right, so the first question the first problem I need to solve is chaff clear. Last round, these blue crawlers were just taking way too long to kill. So I've added a sacrificial fire badger, and its only purpose is to spray fire onto the ground, killing these level 1 and also level 2 crawlers. All right. And the next time, or the next turn rather, I'm going to add that second layer of melting point. All right, napalms are just so darn good against crawlers. Every single crawlers die, and we have the melting point already locking some pretty darn juicy targets. Now, can it actually out DPS this level 5 steel ball? And it looks like it just might. But we're gonna have a bit of an issue. Oh, it didn't actually kill this level 5 steel ball, even though it was locked onto it for the longest time. It just goes to show just how powerful these steel balls are with energy absorption. And this one, it doesn't even stand a chance. It was quickly brought down. So another round goes to my opponent, and this level 5 steel ball is going to be level 6. All right, this goes from bad to worse. Another unit drop. I'm going to pick the tarantulas because of the spider mine. None of the other units can actually survive or deal enough damage to high level steel balls with energy absorption. But with spider mine, I can at least get some huge sudden damage and also provide a bit of a chaff clear. My opponent decided to flank with 2 level 1 sandworms. A very good strategy. And here I am adding that second layer of melting point. Now they are level 1, which means they aren't really doing a whole lot of damage, especially against this level 6 steel ball with 83,000 HP per unit. Super scary stuff. All right, So on my opponent's board, I think what he needs to do is just rinse and repeat and do more of the same thing, right? I think the flank on the side is brilliant. If you can get to my tower, then everything dies and he wins the game. More crawlers, I think this is a good call, even though I do have a lot of napalm, so he needs to find new angles where my napalm don't actually cover. It's going to be on the side here. It's going to draw a lot of firepower from my units. And I wouldn't mind seeing even more Wraith as well. I mean, they are just excellent cards, excellent units. And here comes the line of missiles. My opponent wants to end this game right here, right now. I started moving my units back because I really don't want the high-level steel balls to lock onto my high-level melting point. So that is just a little cheeky maneuver. And now we have a lot of blue beans and orange beans exchanging. And we need to focus the attention on the left-hand side here. We need to see if I'm able to bring down those high-level steel balls. And indeed, I can. And now we're working on this sandworm here, but my opponent is going to get tower. And with that, he is going to get this level 3 melting point all charged up. And I'm still not out of the woods yet. Yes, as you can see, I'm trying to absorb. Oh, and with the tower down, I finally am able to absorb all the damage. And I think that's GG. Holy cow, what a back and forth game with blue beams and orange beams shooting across the battlefield. But eventually, I think what really wins the game is the second layer of melting point, because when your opponent's steel ball comes into a melting point that's already at full charge, it's a little bit more difficult to survive after that. Well, so I hope you enjoyed this game, and if you want to see another game just like this, here it is for you. And I will see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics. Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress. The battlefield's alive with swarms.